Hello and welcome to the Economic Times webinar, wherein industry experts discuss how the role of General Counsel has evolved over the past decades, from a pure legal risk management function to a strategic advisor to the CEO and board leadership. On this special episode, we bring you insightful highlights of the Legal Transformation webinar. First up, we are in conversation with Keshav Dhakkad from Microsoft India.
I am just so thrilled to partner with the Economic Times in this very esteemed panel. And what a strange and very exciting time we are living in, from the pandemic to the supply chain disruption that we're seeing, from expectations that are changing from our consumers. There's no doubt that this is a time of great and hyper change. And these forces are extremely affecting the way legal departments, the type of work they are doing, how they do that work, the people that are coming into the departments. It is changing how legal departments function today and into the future. And it's why I'm so thrilled to start our conversation with Keshav. Keshav, I know that you are so focused right now on those 3 T's, and it's just been such a pleasure to pick your brain in preparation for this conversation to talk about trust, transparency, and transformation. So let's kick it off first. First, can you tell us a little bit about your legal department and your role before we dive into those T's?
Bernadette, yes, I'm the General Counsel of Microsoft India, and my role is about Microsoft managing and supporting all the businesses in Microsoft India. But I think my department is a very unique department because of the multifaceted nature of support and enablement that we do. And it is called Corporate, External, and Legal Affairs. It's a long name, but I think it signifies the diversity of the talent that we have, but also the skill sets and the businesses that we kind of support across engineering, sales, marketing, R&D, services, and so on and so forth. So it has the elements of corporate and legal and product development support, which also includes engineering support. We have government affairs and public policy. We have compliance teams, as well as the teams which look into investigations for compliance violations. Then we have digital crimes unit, as well as philanthropy. So if you can see just the diversity of the teams which are within one team, which is CELA, gives us a very different and a diverse perspective of our support and how our roles are evolving. Trust is a currency which kind of take long time to build, but short time to break. And I think it is also about really what you practice, what you preach. So trust is a very widely used term, but I think when we go into the depth of what truly trust mean to everybody, I think you will see very different perspectives. There's a strong practice maybe I want to mention, which we have in Microsoft called Microsoft Runs on Trust, and it is about policies, practices, and principles, which is core to everything we do in any part of our business anywhere in the world. It's so much so that Satya's once mentioned in a global forum that we are a platform of trust, not on Azure or Office or Windows, etc. And I think that was very profound, the way he looked at trust. That people will not adopt technology unless they trust it, right? Because risks are multiplying in the digital age. Pandemic has taught a lot to us, and the role is really evolving of general counsels and the teams under the department. And I think it's very important to keep focus on the business practices remain central to developing trust. Then trust is in the commercial contracts, if we come to it, right? Because it's all about commercial relationships with customers in different shape and form, and where security is playing a critical role, the data privacy, even how data is handled, whether it's PII or non-PII, is critical in establishing trust. The intellectual property, the open source, liability areas, or even confidentiality. It's very important to have contracts which establish trust as compared to dilute trust or break trust. Then trust in people. I think it is about we work with each other, and that's critical too. Because ultimately, people make companies, right? And the culture of it is very critical. The working relationships that we have with each other, we trust each other, the empathy, and I would absolutely would want to emphasize the importance of diversity and inclusion in the way you operate. Trust in technology, and I think this is about the accountability that any provider of service, and of course I'm looking at tech as the center here, is that you need to accept accountability for technology, the way that technology serves people, the consumers or your customers in different ways.
So tell me a little bit about how transparency guides your practices and your business.
Transparency, the T of transparency, is one of the core elements of trust. And it is one of the most talked about concept in the digital age today, as we see around. If you really carefully observe as to the discussion around tech and how it is impacting people and the opportunity that we have to solve for all the problems of the world, leveraging the power of the tech. When it comes to transparency, I think we all know how complex contracts or commercial terms can be, or just the terms of use, for various services. And I think we have been on a journey for many years from the bulky contracts and very, very lengthy detailed contracts. How do you really bring shorter templates? How do you just kind of get rid of the ones which probably more, I would say, create more complexity in a relationship as compared to building trust, right? And how do you bring less complex terms? And we've done a great job from having maybe more than 20 pages of contract to under less than 10 pages. So that is something important. But also, I just want to say, how do you simplify a complex term which is well understood by the contracting party on the other side, their lawyers, including the engineers? Sometimes even the R&D people are involved in interpreting what those terms mean and what implications can have to our salespeople. So it's not just, you just can't limit yourself in saying, as a legal expert, I can interpret this contract very well, I can understand each word, but you have to simplify as to the people it is serving. They can understand it well, and you bring that transparency as to what you want to achieve out of a particular clause or a contract. You can't be a resource for everybody all the time, because that's just not possible. And how do you manage your contracts, the legacy and the future contracts, the new ways in which you are developing bespoke, customized contracts, all are very, very relevant for you to really bring that level of transparency in terms of how the journey has been and where is Microsoft moving. And I want to congratulate, we have been partners with Icertis for decades, and you have really helped us mature our ability to do global contract management, where today we are using AI analytics on the contracts to really learn how certain agreements and relationships have shaped up over the years, and what do we learn from them to bring better decision-making, better negotiations, having a better planning framework so we don't lose time and we can leverage the knowledge. And of course, how do you bring clear communications, both when you engage externally with your customers, partners, but also internally with your colleagues and your business clients, particularly on the cloud contracts, right? We own 200 plus data centers serving 195 countries. So that's a very heavy lift and a responsibility do we have. So the number of engagements that we would have across our supply chain at different parts of the world require very clear terms of contract, and also the transparency goes all the way to the customers. That includes the whole subcontracting. So the clauses or the relationship that we have with our customers have the equal bearing on the chain of subcontracting that we do. So they are not two different set of levels of commitments. So that the commitment to customers flow all the way to the last person in the line, or who's working on the engineering or the nitty-gritties of data or the technologies.
Can you tell me a little bit about how technology has been transforming your team?
Transformation is a word, I think, which is upon us for a long time. And I think it is accelerating more than ever in the last 2 years. And I think pandemic has a huge role to play in that. It starts with the culture. It starts with mindset, right? And it is not something which can be just given you on a template and saying, hey, go do these 10 things and you're transformed. Because it is when it is a part of the culture, then I think it goes into the I would say a 360-degree view of what your roles are, what your responsibilities are, how are you developing the team, and how you really be a force to your organization. We have been on a journey as a company for many years now, especially under Satya Nadella, was that we have to move away from the culture of know it all to learn it all. And that was the very foundational way in which he said, you can never be know-it-all person or a company because you can't know it all. It's just impossible. And if you ever pretend to be know-it-all, then you're not being true to yourself. You can't you can't know everything. So I think that learn it all is that constant endeavor and constant, I would say zeal to saying, am I learning every day? Have I learned something new? And also it is about keeping pace with your own tech, right? And sometimes we all feel that our tech is moving much faster. Our services, our products are far getting more complicated and advanced and very sophisticated. And I think we are trying to really learn that pace of our tech change. But we've had our own journey to the cloud. And I mentioned silos are something which we have broken over the years, where various departments would keep their data and their files and knowledge in their own servers, and they were not in the cloud. And I think over the last 10 years we've had journey to move to the cloud and bring that modern tools adoption journey, including adopting data analytics, AI in the way we do compliance analytics, or way we look at policy violations. We look at Power BI to visualize data. We have a pretty big data science team inside Sila. And of course, then we have teams, adoption of teams. And I can say very, very openly that, we are using less of Outlook today, which may come surprise to many. We're using more of Teams, because Teams is not just an AV solution, it's a productivity and a collaboration platform.
Welcome back. Next up, we bring you a panel of industry voices discussing the positioning of the legal department and its importance in India, with laser focus on strengthening trust, transparency, and transformation.
I'm going to start first with Prakash. We talked, and when we were preparing for this, I was asking you about where you saw transformation in your work and within your legal department. And what I really appreciated was you first focused on team as an area where you saw transformation. Do you want to share a little bit about what you were seeing in terms of the individual's productivity versus the team productivity, and what was driving that transformation?
Technology is a big agent of change, but people are the biggest enablers of transformation. This tech has been around for a long time and was adopted by many. But the real transformation happened only when a fraternity adopted it en masse, leading to the change in the world as we knew it, and probably forever.
Debalina, what's been driving that change for you, and a little bit more about what that impact of that transformation has been?
So, we had to start from scratch as to, how do we do the right thing, but in a different manner, in a different platform. And that's where a technology or a digital legal department helped, and it was born as far as, our organization was concerned. And I must share with you, Bernadette, that, we have digital champion in every department in our organization, including the legal department. And we could do the right thing, but in a very different and new way. The sun still shone in this, in this legal world, but it had a different sky. And that sky was, the sky of digitization and of technology. I think simplicity in the technology is very important. And that's where, we as legal departments, along with the IT or the technology division, we try to bring about the best practice processes and try to bring about simplicity in the digitization.
Vineet, if we could go to you. So can you tell us a little bit about the transformation journey that you and your legal department is on, and how you're using AI to develop your team and your practice?
Today, we resort to technology when it comes to legal department in terms of my mergers and acquisition teams uses, for example, the knowledge is gained to be creating term sheets. For my contracting team to use technology, knowledge, the best practices to the best positions acquired over a period of time to how to inculcate into your contracts, to how to, bring about the best compliance processes and the methodologies globally. So I think we're using technology automation to the fullest.
Rashita, it's your turn now. So can you tell me a little bit about what low-code technology is, and what that looks like in your department?
Low-code or no-code technology, what they call today, is basically tools that you can adopt easily without really having any coding knowledge. And that's as simple as, I'm not a technical person, I'm a lawyer, so I cannot explain it in more technical terms. But the idea is that we were able to take technology internally in our legal team. I think having a cross-functional legal department with various skills is the need of the hour. So, we need people who are data scientists. We need people who can understand a little bit of technology and make it work for the lawyers. We need people who are process experts and agile experts. We need people who have other types of skills within the legal department. We had started adopting certain tools that took our manual processes. We looked at it, we redefined it. We said, okay, what do we want our future process to look like? And basically the idea was to free our lawyers to focus on more strategic work, right? So we wanted to take on those mundane, manual, daily processes and use automation workflows to take away that time from our lawyers.
Moving on, we bring you a Power Pack panel discussion on rethinking the leadership role of general counsels in India.
Empowering someone to be a digital champion, whether it's one designate, but how powerful would it be if everyone in the legal department thought of themselves as a digital champion? And I do believe that part of being a digital champion to make the tools available simple and easy, that it seems to be a theme across. This transformation is based on people, the right process, and technology, people, process, and technology. But I think what we're seeing now in this transformation is that yields data. And that data and that knowledge, one, is being democratized, not just throughout the legal department. It used to be very siloed, but now you're sharing that across teams. Is not just the technology for efficiency process purposes, but technology to create data, whether it's contracting data so that you understand best, your best practices, your playbooks, your best terms. It might be data about predictive data to give you an idea about litigation or such, or penalties and such. So that is so incredible. Keshav,
I think is business agility. How do you bring yourself to learn more about business so you're able to address and cater and enable the needs of where the business wants to go? And I think that is a combination of not just relying on your current knowledge that you have and the expertise that you already are aware of, whether it's regulatory or internal policies and the practices, but I think is this ability to see what's coming in the next 3 years, next 5 years. Agility is also linked to resiliency. When you kind of encounter situations such as pandemic or disasters or global events, how fast you respond to the circumstances is a skill which we are developing.
Vineet, what about you?
I think it's important. The GC is wearing multiple hats, and so are the legal counsels. So to my mind, You believe it, you don't believe it, you designate people or you do not designate people. Today, the lawyers are playing multiple roles, be it the risk advisors, ethics and compliance, say keepers, business advisors, public affairs, policy.
Well, Debolina,
We are trying to, prepare and implement a very high level process tube or a process technology. And what I mean by this process tube or a process technology is that any segment of work, be it contract management, invoicing, litigation management, trademark tracker, a court tracker, data analytics, forensics, everything, we are trying to create a knowledge base with an eagle eye, saying that people who are working on this system, on this tube, the knowledge process tube, they should have all the things in place, right from the inception till the approval and payment. So in any field. So that is where, we are trying to, upgrade our systems.
Prakash, what about you?
The startup culture, developing an agile yet solution-oriented, innovation-led startup culture is something which we are working on day in, day out. We are trying to develop more and more leaders through empowerment within the teams. And this empowerment has special emphasis on diversity and youngsters. There's a culture of institutionalizing the knowledge management with knowledge enhancement for self as well as the team. The larger theme being learning from each other. There's so much of learning around where we can learn from each other.
One of the reasons why we are embracing technology is because as lawyers, we are attracted to those things that are complex and require the strategic legal mind. But unfortunately, because of workloads, we're unable to get to them. Rashida, that was one of the main points I remember that you were saying, was that you would love to do all of this work, but there's volumes of work, whether it is high impact work, high strategic work. But if you embrace the technology and point that technology to the right pools of work, that you are then empowered to do those things that are more strategic. And I think that's one of the skills that we should be embracing, the strategic lawyer. So I'll go to you. What about Rashida? What about you?
Enhancing the value of the legal department. I think for me, that is one of the biggest things that I want to learn and achieve over the next few months is for people to view legal in a different way, right? Within the organization, not as no-sayers, not as compliance holders, and somebody who where things get stuck for a long time. So I really want to work on changing all of those misconceptions that people have about the legal department. What we need is to have more and more lawyers who are embracing technology, who are embracing data science, who understand that being in a legal function is not about just being a lawyer. That's just the base, right? I mean, that's just something that's quite expected out of them. But you have to be able to understand process. You have to be able to understand technology. You have to be able to read data. That is the most important thing. I mean, we're talking about collecting all this data, but at the end of the day, how are you reading that data? How is data telling you story? So that is something that I think I want to work on as a leader.
We have to embrace data, and being able to, what we do have are the skills of advocacy and to tell a data-driven story. And that includes telling a data-driven story about your own legal department. And I think that's where benchmarks, to understand what excellence means for your teams and to surpass that, I think that's just really incredible. What better way to finish a conversation about the 3 T's, but then for you yourself as a legal leader to become a T-shaped lawyer, not just based on your legal prowess and acumen, but having a host of skills that help you drive trust, drive transparency and will help you drive transformation throughout your legal department. So a great deal of appreciation and thanks to our esteemed panel. Thank you all so much for your time.